What's going on, NFT folks? This is Anorak, and today I wanted to discuss the recent boom in the digital art markets. Lately, digital art has become the most popular sector in the NFT space. New artists are popping up everywhere, while events are emerging just as rapidly to support them. Meanwhile, the artists that have been around the longest are becoming more and more popular, and digital art collectors are drooling at the mouth as their bounty of selections grows wider by the day. So what's given rise to this recent boom in the digital art market? Well, the market itself has been growing quite rapidly during the first half of 2020, but has spiked in the last couple months due in part to the ridiculously high ETH gas prices. One may wonder how this factors into demand for art, but the correlation is quite straightforward. Users involved in NFT gaming, and especially users involved in the virtual worlds, have gotten restless and, quite frankly, just a bit bored with high gas fees. These fees have prohibited many users from playing the games or flipping the items as much as they'd like to, leaving them with a hot bag of ETH burning through their wallets. While many users are accumulating pieces of digital art with the intentions of reselling for profit, this is viewed as more of a long-term investment. Because of this, flippers have turned into two things: hodlers or bystanders. And when flippers cool off, market activity freezes. We've seen this take place over the last couple months via the volume on OpenSea and non-fungibles. So let's take a look. So looking at non-fungibles, if we look at the top 10 here on their website, you can see that Super Rare has recently cracked the top 5, competing with virtual worlds such as CryptoVoxels, Sandbox, and Decentraland. Sandbox is even undergoing their Moon land sale. So these sales are even higher than they usually would be, and Super Rare is right here competing with them. And leading the top spot is So Rare. So now we go over to OpenSea, and OpenSea, it's more of the same. If it wasn't for a large land whale coming through Decentraland and sweeping everyone's land up that was under the value of 16,000 mana, Decentraland would be nowhere near this top spot. This happened about 12 hours before I recorded the video. Up until then, Super Rare was leading the ranks for a good portion of the last 2 weeks. And as we look down here, it's the same case as non-fungibles with CryptoVoxels behind Super Rare, Somnium Space behind Super Rare, and then you even have platforms like Maker's Place rivaling these games. So then you scroll down and we have Known Origin, which is above League of Kingdoms and Gods Unchained. Josie's own personal OpenSea store is outcompeting some of the more popular games that we've seen take hold, like Axie Infinity, and even Decentraland Wearables, which at one point in time had an ETH value of around 50 for about a week straight on OpenSea. So if we look at these stats and you're wondering exactly how much money are these platforms making, well, an article that was written by PlaytoEarn via Twitter shows you some of the money that has been flowing into this space during 2020. So you can see here, Super Rare is the biggest name in the art community, responsible for almost $1.3 million in sales. Known Origin has reached $285,000 in sales, while Maker's Place is just a few $1,000s behind according to data from Non-Fungible. As we continue, last year, the crypto art market was good for $559,000 in trading volume. This was a 115% growth compared to last year. So during 2019, the entire crypto art market was good for $559,000 in trading volume. However, this year alone, Super Rare has traded $906,000 worth of digital art on their platform, while Known Origin has traded $223,000 in registered trades. This type of volume increase is unprecedented, and there can be a couple factors that explain why. One, obviously due to COVID, art museums are closed, and people aren't able to get out and see some of their artworks. Maybe they're turning to online digital art sales. But I think the more real factor, or I guess the more legitimate factor, could be the metaverse projects taking off. These blockchain-based projects are filling up their space and their land quite rapidly. Decentraland, CryptoVoxels, and even Somnium Space have all showcased art builds throughout the metaverse. Now, what this does is gives rise to a number of crypto artists who didn't necessarily have a platform or a space to fill with their artwork. However, now you look at Decentraland's Art Week, which was a 10-day stretch featuring different types of digital artists. Pixel Chain, Known Origin, Maker's Place, Mint Base, even Josie had her own setup, and there are even more included in that. And then you look towards a metaverse project in CryptoVoxels, where CryptoVoxels has somewhat thrived in the digital art space. And I think it's safe to say that CryptoVoxels might not be where it is now without digital artists. And with more platforms, more artists have a way to enter the game. And there's been some debate amongst the art community as to which artists are here to create and which ones are here for a quick buck. Because more money means more phonies. Just look at the designer fashion world. Knockoffs are aplenty. And as Max Brody, the founder of Scent, mentioned on the Zima Red podcast, there's a little bit of gray area when you're collecting digital art. Let's take a listen.
But the thing that always bothers me right now about the art-based NFTs, which I think I'm converting over, but I'm still struggling with, is like, say someone makes a picture of like a, I don't know, giraffe eating a lollipop, and it's some sort of GIF, and it's cool. People like it. So then I look at the giraffe picture. I can see it in the same way that the person who owns the NFT can see it. And it doesn't feel like that person is really inhibiting me from getting any serotonin out of that content. Like, I'm getting the same essence of it. It's not locked away in their home. It's on the internet. I'm seeing the same pixels that they are. And so I feel like NFTs, and I think that's something that's latent in probably the mind of mainstream people, is like, why am I going to buy something when, what am I, just fundamentally, what am I getting really? Like,
so as Max hinted to, it's easy to copy this digital art because it's not locked away anywhere. It's on the internet. And we're starting to see examples of that taking place even just earlier this week on Twitter. So here's a photo of what I'm describing, and I've blocked the user's name out because I don't want to shame anyone, but just give you an example of these people that are creating kind of sloppy remixes to it, and they're not really putting in any of their own work, but they're trying to flip it and make a quick buck. And I'm wondering what the ethics is behind that, or how these artists are going to stop people from stealing their stuff in the future. Because as this space grows, there's going to be a bigger chance for knockoffs, and everyone won't be able to police it as much as they can already. So are we entering a digital art bubble, or is it here to stay? Well, I think in the most part, it's going to be here for a very long time. And I think a lot of the top tier artists are going to be around for basically ever. As long as the NFT market is thriving, these artists will be here. But as mentioned earlier, I do think that the volume is going to slow down a little once these games pick their activity back up. Because when users get around gaming and flipping, well, art and long-term investing might take a back seat to a lot of the common investors we're seeing right now. So with this in mind, still and GIF images aren't the only form of digital art we're seeing. Different pieces such as wearables for virtual world avatars in CryptoVoxels, Decentraland, and even Somnium Space's custom-made avatar SDK kit are all also forms of expression. Not to mention, the actual buildings themselves that populate these virtual worlds are also pieces of art. Real-life clothing based on digital art pieces, like the ones I'm wearing right now, made by Josie, have taken roots in the space as well. The space is flooded with artists, and rightfully so, because guess what? We need them right now to thrive. In a content desert, artwork is the digital oasis, and users are going to keep running towards that refuge until NFT gaming is freed up from high gas prices, if it ever is. But until then, I still predict digital art to be here for the long haul. I just think only a select few artists will rise above the canvas ashes moving forward. But hey, how is that different than any other profession? Only time will tell, and we'll wait to see. Cheers, and stay nifty in the NFT space.